going on, everybody? Happy Friday. We've made it to the end of the week finally. A lot of stuff happening in NFL draft, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. We're going to cover it all for you today. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch, and we're back again with another episode. 3 times this week. We decided to go 3 times this week because of the NFL draft obviously being yesterday. Last night, the first round took place, so we wanted to do 3 episodes this week. It's not going to be a regular thing anymore. I think I'm going to change it up. We're going to do Monday and Friday or Monday and Thursday. I don't really know yet. It'll definitely be on Monday. It'll either be Thursday or Friday. It just depends on when I ultimately decide to do what I want to do. But nonetheless, we'll just go ahead and get right into this because obviously everybody wants to talk about the NFL draft, which last night, man, it was a crazy night. It was told like 30 minutes before the draft that this had a potential chance to be one of the craziest drafts in NFL history, and boy, it wasn't short of crazy. I'll tell you that. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of trades, a lot of guys dropping that nobody expected to drop. If you listen to my last episode where my mock draft took place, I told you I was going to go 0 for 30, 0 for 20, 10 for 20, or 20 for 20. I was a little bit closer to the 0 for 20 range than I was for anything else, I believe. But let's just get right into it. We'll go over some of the picks. I won't go over everything because that's just going to take too long, and I don't think that we have all the time of the day, although this might be the last time we talk about the NFL for a while, so we'll just see what happens with what's going on. Obviously, Bryce Young went number 1 overall. We talked about that the other day. I think everybody knew that. But number 2, the Houston Texans, and all day there were signs everywhere of saying there's a potential chance that somebody could trade up, or this is Will Anderson Jr. for sure. And immediately, 30 minutes before the draft as well, it came out that Will Anderson Jr. was not in the sights of the Texans here at number 2, and that a quarterback could be in play. And the odds went from C.J. Stroud being plus 420 on the odds on all the every website to going up to minus 1,005 or 1,050, then jumped up to minus 2,000, minus 4,000. I think is what the highest it got to, and then dropped right back down to about minus 2,000. It was just an absolutely crazy night, crazy lead up, I guess. But C.J. Stroud going to the Texans, I think it's a great pick, obviously. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I had C.J. Stroud going number 2 overall. Unfortunately, I had him go to the Colts. But I still love this pick for the Texans. But the Texans weren't done because immediately right after, they're just like, hey, we just got the quarterback we wanted, we knew we can get. Let's just go ahead and get that edge rusher guy that we really wanted to in Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama again. They traded with the Cardinals, swapped their picks, obviously. I think 12 and 3 were the 2-pick swap. And Houston sent over a first-round pick from next year. I don't remember whose first-round pick it is. It might have been Arizona's, honestly, from the Hopkins trade. I might be wrong. But they had another first-round pick next year, so why not go ahead and spend it to move up again and get Will Anderson there. Moving on to number 4, this is probably the one people want to hear me talk about because this is my guy. Anthony Richardson gets picked number 4 overall by the Colts. And this entire time I thought it was going to be Will Levis. I think a lot of people thought it was Will Levis. He was minus 170 to be the number 4 overall pick. And the Colts were minus 145 on taking a quarterback at number 4. It ended up being Anthony Richardson, who was plus 110 going into the night. Obviously, I'm a Florida guy. I'm an Anthony Richardson guy. I think it's a great pick for the Colts. I'm not dogging the Colts at all. I only said the thing about the Titans last episode so I can keep my my clothing and not have to worry about buying a bunch of new stuff. But I think Anthony Richardson is a great pick here for them. Shane Steichen's offense. Once again, like I kind of mentioned last episode, with Jalen Hurts, how successful he was. I think you're going to see some of the similar stuff with the Colts. I just think if you're the Colts and you're drafting Anthony Richardson, you have to get him weapons. Michael Pittman is not the only guy you can be throwing it to. You got to get somebody here in the second round or the third round to help him out because God, please save him with the amount of weapons that they got on the roster right now. Number 5, Devon Witherspoon went number 5 to the Seattle Seahawks. That was a surprise to a lot of people as well. I think a lot of people saw Jalen Carter going there. Maybe Anthony Richardson would have gone there. But they ended up going Devon Witherspoon, corner out of Illinois, out of Pensacola, Florida. I'm sure you saw a lot of stuff all night saying that he, didn't really start football until his junior year. Only had one Power 5 offer, and made it to the top 5. Super cool for him to get there. Super cool for the city to have another guy that gets picked, especially a top 5 pick, because I don't think that's ever happened. I might be wrong, but I don't think that's ever happened that somebody's gone top 5 from Pensacola outside of Emmitt Smith. So that's super cool for the city. But him and Tariq Woolen on the opposite side of each other, man, that's going to be such a fun defensive duo to watch if you're into defense for football. I know I am, so that's going to be super fun to watch. But a great pick for the Seahawks there at number 5 that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. And speaking of a lot of people didn't see something coming, was Paris Johnson at number 6. The Detroit Lions had this pick, traded down, ended up going to the Cardinals. The Cardinals moved up to get Paris Johnson Jr., the offensive tackle from Ohio State, at number 6 to help protect Kyler whenever he returns back from his injury. Good pick there. Good line. Obviously, I thought Will Anderson was going to go to him, but things change. So they ended up being O-line and protecting a guy, their franchise quarterback. Tyree Wilson goes 7 to the Raiders. Good pickup. Bijan Robinson goes number 8 to the Falcons. I thought that this was going to happen until I made that last-second trade with the Titans and Falcons in my other mock draft, where it moved up to get Anthony Richardson. I assumed the Eagles would have taken him at 10 at that point. That obviously did not happen. I like this pick. CBS has it as a grade of a D right now. I don't think that's the case. I get it. You don't want to take a running back that high, but once again, like I talked about last episode, he's got Saquon level hype. He's got insane talent, so I don't think taking him this high is going to be an issue, especially playing in the NFC South, where right now it's a pretty level-headed division. I think you can say the two favorites are the guys that or the teams that had the higher picks. Honestly, the Panthers and the Falcons are your two favorites in that division right now, it looks like. So good pickup for them there to get a guy that is going to be an absolute unit on the field to go along with to counteract that passing game with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Jalen Carter drops all the way to Philly at number 9. They ended up trading up with Chicago to move up another spot to get Jalen Carter. Fantastic pick. Can't go wrong there. He's going to get paired back with Jordan Davis on the defensive line. They played at Georgia together, so that's going to be cool to see. Darnell Wright at number 10 to the Bears. Rounding out the top 10, obviously that switch just happened with the Eagles and Bears. They get Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, who potentially one of the, if not the best tackle in the class. Very versatile guy. I think this is a great pick for the Bears. Again, you got to protect Justin Fields. You got to protect your superstar quarterback. So I had them picking Paris Johnson, I believe, at 9. He went higher than expected. So Darnell Wright lands there no matter what. They got an O tackle, which is a need for them. And we'll just kind of highlight some of the other ones that were shocks. Coming in at number 12 with this trade with the Texans and the Lions. The Lions are back at 12. And they took Jahmyr Gibbs. This makes no sense at all to me. You already have DeAndre Swift and you have David Montgomery as your two running backs. Talking to somebody, obviously thinking that DeAndre Swift is probably gone now. He wasn't really happy there, I believe. There were some reports that he wasn't as happy being there. I think a season or two ago. So it's like, all right, why not just get a guy that we know is going to be a problem and move on from DeAndre, maybe get some middle-round draft picks, 3rd, 4th maybe. Or if you want to keep all 3 of them, Jahmyr Gibbs' route running and pass game experience and ability is good enough. I was just joking around saying you can kind of put him in the slot, but honestly, if you want to run him out there for an extra route, why not? He's got the size to be able to do, or he doesn't have the size to be able to do that. He's got the quickness to be able to do that. He doesn't have the size to be able to kind of match up as a wide receiver, but I think nonetheless, it's an interesting pick, but if you're going to trade DeAndre Swift, it kind of makes some sense. But still, you have opportunities to get a DB there. You got to go after it. Lucas Van Ness to the Packers makes absolutely no sense. I don't hate Lucas Van Ness. I talked about him really high last episode. And it's funny if you watch. There's an interview with J.J. Watt and Pat McAfee during the draft night, and J.J. Watt was saying that it's funny that every single time that a white defensive lineman that is from the Midwest Big Ten area gets drafted, he's immediately compared to J.J. Watt. And apparently I did that last episode too, so I am put into that category. Sorry, J.J., if I offended you at all. I'm just saying, it's an easy comparison. It's a pretty easy comparison. But mine was more relatable because of the Texans issues. But now he's with the Packers. That didn't really make any sense. I don't know why they didn't go receiver here. But we'll move on. Packers, I don't know what you're doing at this point. I don't know if you even care about Jordan Love anymore. So we'll see what happens going on the rest of the draft. The next shocker at 15, the Jets pick Will McDonald from Iowa State, an edge rusher. I didn't even have him in my first round. I don't think a lot of people did, so I don't really know much about him, honestly. But the Jets find guys, and Robert Saleh, a defensive guy, obviously saw something in him that he liked. So they went for it. And we'll talk about one of the big things right here is who got picked at number 17. Christian Gonzalez, corner out of Oregon, who was probably going to go top 10. Arguably the number one corner in the class, dropped down. I don't know why, but the Patriots somehow find a way to get him. Like, they always find a way to get these guys that are really good in these late rounds, and they're just like, hey, we'll trade back in the first round because we know he's going to end up being there at this point. So they got Christian Gonzalez, an incredibly gifted, talented corner, because of course the Patriots do. That's a great pickup for them. Great pickup. Right after the Lions, they picked Jack Campbell, linebacker. They need linebacker help and depth, especially in coverage. And Jack Campbell's one of those guys who plays very, very good in coverage. I didn't see him in the first round, honestly, just because of the prioritizing of other positions over linebacker from all the teams in the first round. So that's the only reason you didn't hear me talk about him last podcast, but I like him a lot. Jackson Smith-Njigba goes number 20 to the Seahawks. I thought he was going to the Packers earlier on. I had them trade back to get him even at 17, and that obviously didn't happen. He ends up going 20 to the Seahawks. That's great for them. You got DK, you got Tyler Lockett, and now you got Jackson Smith-Njigba. Creating a good core there of wide receivers, and you got Witherspoon earlier on, so that's a fantastic first round, I'd say, for them. One of the guys we highlighted, Zay Flowers, went number 22 to the Baltimore Ravens, who just re-signed Lamar Jackson, finally to a 5-year deal. That was a big thing they got done. Locking your franchise quarterback. There are questions of him being uncomfortable with the whole situation and negotiations. He negotiated the contract himself, I believe. So that's super cool that he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks of all time on per average guaranteed money wise. So Ravens lock him up long term and go ahead and get him another weapon in Zay Flowers. Again, guy like I talked about, shorter guy, but he is incredibly skilled catching wise, can go up and get it. Great route runner. So great pick there for the Ravens. Moving on, the Bills traded up in front of the Cowboys to get Dalton Kincaid, a tight end out of Utah. I loved Kincaid a lot. He killed Florida week 1 in the swamp, and I knew from that moment that this guy was going to be a problem in the NFL. Buffalo gets him here at 25. They traded up one spot to be able to get him. I like him a lot just because of the fact that he's a little bit quicker of a guy and a little bit more agile than Dawson Knox. You can play them kind of besides each other. Kind of like how the Chiefs use Kelsey and some of their other tight ends that they find, Fant, Gray, whoever it be. You can play them as one be a little short down guy. The other guy does a little bit more of a mid route, deep route type of maneuvers. So I like this move from the Bills. And Dawson Knox is, running up on his contract as well. So go ahead and lock in another guy. Cowboys get Mazzie Smith. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I didn't have him on my board either. Interior D lineman from Michigan. They needed an interior D lineman anyway, so I guess this is a good pick, but I don't really know much about him, so I can't really speak on him. He's a big dude, 6'3", 323. So I assume that they ended up doing something good here. But I really thought they were going to go Meyer or Branch here. Anton Harrison gets picked by the Jaguars. We've got to talk about Cam Robinson getting suspended for performance-enhancing drugs. There was, at the time of me recording, I'm recording this right after the draft ended. It's not announced how many games he's suspended for, but go ahead and get a guy that can slide right in and play on the other side of Jawan Taylor on that offensive line. Go ahead and fill up that spot right there. Another guy who dropped a lot, Miles Murphy, went to the Bengals. Good player, great pickup for the Bengals there. Good value pick. Brian Brzee, interior D lineman from Clemson, who was formerly I don't know if he was the number one overall guy, but he was the number one defensive guy overall in his his prospect class in high school, his signing class, whatever you want to call it. He goes to the New Orleans Saints. I know there's like a couple or a handful of Saints fans that listen to this. It's a solid pick. I think it's the guy that a position you guys needed. I didn't think it was the position you guys needed or wanted to go after, but with Jahmyr Gibbs going so early, I don't think you could have gone a running back there. I think with all three of your wide receivers that you probably wanted, you couldn't go with another guy to team up with them. I don't know if you wanted to go tight end or not, so you didn't do that. But nonetheless, they got Brzee to fill up that D line, which they always have a good stacked D line. Nolan Smith, the highlight of the night, being dropped all the way down to 30, and of course the Philadelphia Eagles find a way to get a guy, just kind of like how Nakobe Dean dropped so far last year. They find a way to get a guy here in Nolan Smith, who is an absolute stud. And then the Chiefs pick Felix Anuk. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Edge rusher out of Kansas State, but Felix stays in state and plays with the Chiefs. I don't really know much about him either, but I'm glad he gets to stay in state. But that's your first round. But the highlight we need to talk about is obviously Joey Porter Jr. does not get drafted in the first round, but even bigger is Will Levis not being drafted in the first round, let alone the top 10 or 5 or 2, even, as some people thought. He was a minus 145 favorite to be at number 2. I think Wednesday he was listed as that, and now he's not even a first-round pick. As I previously mentioned, I'm not too high on him anyways. He's got a great arm, but the tape just doesn't show that he knows what he's doing out there on the field. It doesn't seem like he knows how to read a defense. He's not aware of the pocket. He doesn't understand all that type of stuff yet. He's an older guy, and it's like, hey, do we really want to have this project take this long at this age, or do we want to take a shot on maybe another younger guy at a different position that we could fill and maybe get him down the line or something else down the line to help fill in? So nonetheless, Will Levis had to sit there the entire draft night, not get his name called after there were rumors of him on Reddit going number 1 overall, which were never going to happen. But nonetheless, it's a crazy time. NFL draft was a crazy night. Like I said, so many trades. One of the most unique drafts, I feel like, just because you just never knew what was coming next. You saw a guy get picked, and it's like, oh, crap, I didn't think this guy was going to get picked this high. Or, oh, man, why isn't this guy getting picked yet? But that's the fun nature of the draft. Obviously, day 2 of the NFL draft will be the second and third rounds. They'll be tonight as as this comes out on Friday. It'll be the Friday night, and then the rest of the draft will be Saturday afternoon. So hopefully your team can still fill up your needs whenever you need to. There's still a bunch of guys left on the board that are super talented. A couple of guys I mentioned, Cedric Tillman, one of the guys from Tennessee, wide receiver that I mentioned, is very good. You can see him going in the second round on Friday night, or even Tajay Spears, who might go Friday night, more likely going to be early Saturday afternoon he gets picked. But at the rate that the running backs are jumping up, you might see his name get called tomorrow night as well. But that's the NFL. I think that's pretty much it. There's not much else I really want to talk about there, so let's just hop on over to the NBA playoffs. All right, moving on to the NBA playoffs. We're going to cover Wednesday and Thursday's action. The New York Knicks end up beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 106-95 to end up winning that series 4-1. Great series from the Knicks, super dominant. As I previously mentioned on my first episode, I talked about Josh Hart being one of the more underrated guys in the NBA, and he's a lockdown defender. And you can just ask Donovan Mitchell how he did this series because Josh Hart was all over him the entire series. Jalen Brunson was unbelievable. Julius Randle got hurt, so that might affect how it goes on next round. But this Knicks team looks like they're rolling right now. They're playing some good basketball, and they'll move on to the next round to play the Miami Heat, who ended up beating the Milwaukee Bucks on Wednesday night, 128-126. The Heat win that series 4-1 in overtime. Jimmy Butler hits a fadeaway layup kind of thing from like 2 feet out with .1 remaining on the clock as the time expired. Sent them to overtime, and as they call him, Hemi Butler ends up with 42 points, 17 for 33 from the field. And he had to deal with Kevin Love fouling out, Kyle Lowry fouling out, and Bam Adebayo fouling out, all in the fourth quarter or overtime. So Jimmy Butler was just kind of left on his own and just said, here, I am the guy. I am Michael Jordan right now. Let me take over here. And Jimmy proven that he is one of the more underrated players in the league. I've thought this for a long time. Jimmy is one of my favorite players in the league that isn't on the Grizzlies. A buddy and I have wanted him on the Grizzlies for a long time, long time, trust me. And obviously that's not going to happen, but Jimmy Butler showing out right now in Miami. And then the Golden State Warriors took a 3-2 lead on the Kings series. They ended up finally winning a game on the road. The world is collapsing, ladies and gentlemen. The Warriors have finally won a road game, and it comes to happen in the playoffs. They win that game 123-116. Draymond Green has, don't even quote me on this, probably a career-high 21 points here, 8 for 10 from the field. I mean, he's looking like a superstar big man right there, with 21.7 rebounds. But the superstar big man we need to talk about is Kevon Looney with 22 rebounds in the starting lineup. That's a big help to have a guy like that starting for you. They go up 3-2 in the series like I previously mentioned. That game 6 will be played on Friday night at 7 o'clock. So tonight, if you're listening to it on Friday, and if it's already happened, then I mean, you're a little late to the party, but it's okay. You can still listen anyway. I still appreciate you for that. And then we'll obviously talk about on Wednesday what also happened. This is an earlier game. The Memphis Grizzlies, my Memphis Grizzlies, win 116-99 over the Los Angeles Lakers to bring the series to a 3-2 Lakers lead. And I'm going to scream it from the rooftops. Grizz in 7, Grizz in 7, Grizz in 7. Now, this might be the biggest hot take of all time here because if you're listening to this, Game 6 might have already happened on Friday night, and we might have already lost. So please don't come at me if we lose. But nonetheless, watching this game, it's kind of frustrating watching it because the dude Dylan Brooks is still on the court, and there's a reason that these guys are just playing off of him. You started to see like halfway through the game that Ja was getting double teamed as soon as he hit the half court line. And Dylan's the only guy wide open on the wing for a reason. Taylor Jenkins finally makes an adjustment, goes with the 5-man death lineup. If the laser beams from the Martians came down and wanted to end all of our lives, this is the starting 5 he puts on the court. He put out there Tyus Jones, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, and Jaren Jackson Jr. And we ended off with a 10-0 run to end the first quarter. And it's starting to become an idea that Dylan's defense is great and all. It's really good, but it's starting to get to this series where his defense isn't meaning anything. And a buddy of mine and I talk about this all the time. Talk about how where Dylan Brooks is at the point where his defense means nothing because he just goes down and screws it up on the offensive side. He always says that Dylan takes each other's heat checks for the rest of his teammates. Shout out because we just know more than you do. But Dylan is just struggling so much. He shot 2 for 10 from three. There's no shot that he needs to be taking 10 shots from the 3 point line. That's absolutely ridiculous. Let alone 15 shots in general. That is the third highest on the entire team behind Ja Morant and Desmond Bane, who obviously both went off for 30 and 10 apiece, both rebounding it, killing it. Jaren also with 10 rebounds and 18 points. Tillman doing his thing. And I'll tell you this, I'll give some credit to Xavier Tillman right now, because last few games, Dylan's assignment has been LeBron James. And this game, Taylor Jenkins switches it up and goes with guard LeBron by committee, which is a very strong and bold idea to do. But boy, did it work, because LeBron had one of the worst games in his playoff career, shooting 5 for 17, 1 for 9 from three. He still had 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists, but was a shell of himself in this game. And Xavier Tillman is one of the reasons because of that. And yeah, Xavier Tillman might not be the quickest guy of all time, or the tallest person, the best defender, but man, he hustles, he plays hard, he tries to lock down. He's going to take every assignment seriously. He's going to play hard. He missed a couple of layups during the game, and you could tell it was killing him. And he came right back down, went for it again, and hits it. It's just a guy who has a bunch of resilience, and I just enjoy watching Xavier Tillman play a lot, because earlier this year I really counted him out, and he has really proven me, and I think a lot of the Grizzlies fans wrong, who were also counting him out after he asked to go down to the G League. He had a great game. We put Dylan Brooks on Anthony Davis to see if we can get Anthony to be a little bit more aggressive. And boy, was AD aggressive with 31 points and 19 rebounds. That's one great way to play your defense there, Dylan. I get the matchup's a little tough for him, but because the size difference. But man, it was funny to see that every single time Tillman or Jaren or Tyus or Ja would get switched on LeBron, he turns it over, fumbles the ball around, or shoots a terrible shot. But when Dylan goes up and guards him, he is full attack mode. And one thing key to mention here at the end is the fact that LeBron pulled himself out in the last 4.5 minutes of the game. A lot of people were saying he's giving himself some rest to be able to get ready for Game 6. I don't know if sitting 4 minutes at the end of a basketball game is really going to truly alter that. I mean, it might. We'll find out in Game 6, but he just said, I'm done. I'm going to go sit down. Lonnie Walker, you go out there and try to figure it out. And Lonnie Walker's first shot was the hardest clank I have ever seen in my entire life, off the other side of the backboard, shooting from the wing. So glad that really worked out for Darvin Ham and the Lakers there. But after the game, Anthony Davis said he's willing and wanting to play 48 minutes. Please, God, play him 48 minutes. Please, God, play him 48 minutes, because he got hurt 4 times last night. There's no shot in my mind he is getting through that entire game without a timeout being called for him to rest, or for him to go sit on the bench, because he just gets hurt way too much, man. And it's not even a shot at him for getting hurt, because I know he can't control it half the time. But, man, it's just like you're not going to be able to play 48 minutes with the type of body strength that you have. And I guess if this is what LeBron's doing to rest to get ready for this game, then go for it. Chris Vernon, a local guy in Memphis who does a lot of the stuff for the Grizzlies, mentioned on his show Thursday that if this is LeBron resting to give everything that he got in Game 6, if he's going to go out there and play 40-plus minutes in Game 6 and will this Lakers team to win, but they still lose, that's it. What's going to happen in Game 7 when they come back to Memphis? If they come back to Memphis, what's going to happen? LeBron's going to be worn out. He's got to take a flight from Memphis to L.A., back to Memphis, not sleep in his own bed the night before. He's going to be super tired from playing 40-plus minutes and not being able to win. He's already shooting, I think, 6 for 30 from 3 in this series, 6 or 9 for 30. I can't remember which one it was. Nonetheless, it's just absolutely atrocious from him from beyond the arc this series. So if you're hearing this right now, just get ready for LeBron to hit 6 threes tonight, because I said that. You're welcome, Memphis, for that one. But I don't know, man. I'm going to keep saying Grizz in 7 because I'm a hopeful and faithful fan. I have faith in it. And like I said last episode, LeBron's pinnacle was the 3-1 comeback. The LeBron final chapter is the 3-1 lead being blown. He's going to know what it feels like now, and we're going to move on to the next round. I hope, because there won't be a podcast until after Game 7, if there is one, or after Game 6. So this is my prediction now. We win tomorrow night in a 5-point game-ish. Referees are going to be awful because it's back in LA. We're probably going to get Tony Brothers and Tyler Forbes. So that's going to be a rough one. But I think we're going to win by at least around 5 in that game. LeBron's going to give everything he got. LeBron's going to have a great game. Anthony Davis isn't, and that's going to be the key factor because Desmond Bane is starting to heat up. Jaren Jackson's going to find his way this next game, and Luke Kennard is going to be a big factor. Even though he got hurt in Game 5 with a shoulder stinger, I think he'll still play. It's going to be a big factor to have everybody spaced out and not let that paint be clogged up. Grizz go back home on Sunday where I might be in the building. Shout out Kyle. I might be in the building. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see. Obviously, if we win, there's a potential chance I could be in the building for Game 7, which is going to be one of the loudest crowds in Grizzlies history since Game 6 of 2011 against the Spurs. Has a chance to be as loud as that environment was if you were in the building for that. And I think the Grizzlies can pull it off back at home because we have the best home record in the league, best fans in the league, best energy in the league. Grizz in 7, Grizz in 7, Grizz in 7. And then we'll go to the game that happened on Thursday night. Nobody really watched, honestly. The Celtics and Hawks. The Celtics end up winning the game 128-120. Celtics win the series 4-2. They'll go on to play Philadelphia in the second round with, we don't know what's going to happen with Embiid. But Trae Young started that game on fire. I think 18 points in the first quarter, and then shot 6% the rest of the second half. Ended with 30 points, 9 for 28, 4 for 12 from 3. Yeah, he had 30 points, and DeAndre Hunter had 20, and DeJounte Murray had 14 points with 5 for 13 from the field. Nothing's going to stop Tatum's 30, 14, and 7, or Jaylen Brown's 32, 5, and 2, or when Marcus Smart has 20 points and Brogdon has 17 off the bench. That's going to be a fun series to watch, is Philadelphia versus Boston. I think Boston ends up getting the edge there, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. The games to look forward to this weekend, because I will not be recording, like I said, until Sunday, to where Monday's podcast will come out. Saturday, the Suns and Nuggets kick off their second round series in Denver. Right now the line is -2.5 in favor of the home team Denver Nuggets. And then Sunday, potential Game 7s of the Lakers, Grizzlies, Warriors, Kings if they end up going 7 after Friday night. But a guaranteed game that will be happening on Sunday at noon, the matinee at the Garden, just how they want it. Knicks, Heat, 5 versus 7 matchup at the Garden, as I previously mentioned. -4 is the line in favor of the hometown Knicks. That's also going to be a fantastic series. See how Jimmy plays. See what Josh Hart's real defense is all about, coming up against a guy who just is presumably unstoppable right now. It's going to be a fun time of basketball. And then next Monday, we'll talk about it. It's going to be Sixers and Celtics. They don't have a line out right now just because the game ended. But that is the upcoming schedule for the NBA. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Grizz in 7 once again. I'm going to keep beating it to the ground because I am a diehard fan. And we'll go ahead and move on to the NHL. We'll cover it pretty quickly here. Wednesday, the Panthers and Bruins played. The Bruins, obviously the 1 seed, broke the record for most regular season wins in NHL history and most points scored as a team in NHL history, which is, if you don't know anything about hockey, the way you get points as a team is you get 2 points per regular or per win in regulation. You get 1 point for an overtime win or loss. So the losing team can still gain a point by losing in overtime. And then you don't get any points if you just lose in regulation. So the Bruins led the league in points as well, largest of all time. But the Florida Panthers end up winning this game here, 4-3 in overtime. Take that series to 3-2, going to Game 6 in Florida. Pretty stupid way for the Bruins to lose this game. If you watched it, probably doubt some of the audience right now watched it at all. But if you watched it, the way that they lost was ridiculous. Linus Ullmark, the goalie for the Bruins, went out to the trapezoid, which is the little angle behind the net of the goalie's net. He went out there. You have an angle in there to be able to go and recover the loose puck and kick it out or pass it out. He went back there. He tried to knock it out. Battered off his stick. Deflected right out in front to the point, right in front of the goal. The shot was blocked by a defending Bruin, but ended up being a wide open net goal for the Panthers to win it in OT. And then moving on to the other game, my Seattle Kraken. My dear Seattle Kraken, the newest franchise in all of the NHL, go on the road to Colorado and win it 3-2. They take the series lead 3-2 going back to Seattle. That'll be on Saturday night here, or excuse me, Friday night as this episode comes out. Kraken are the 7th seed, Colorado the 2 seed. One of the big things about this game, I won't go too much into it because, again, I know that a lot of you don't really know much or keep up with it, but just want to listen and support, so I appreciate you guys for that one. The Kraken, as I previously mentioned, last game had an incident where Cale Makar, defender for the Avalanche, cheap shot Jared McCann, our leading goal scorer, and concussed him and made him out for this Game 5. We had to call up one of our prospects from the AHL Coachella Firebirds, which is just like the AAA of baseball or the G League in the NBA. We bring up the actual leading goal scorer in all of the AHL, and Ty Kartai. And he's a rookie, never played a game in the NHL until this playoff game, and he went ahead and scored the goal to pull us ahead 2-1 at the time. But we ended up winning the game 3-2. And then moving on to Thursday night as I'm recording here, the Lightning fend off the Toronto Maple Leafs on the road. They win that game 4-2. That is a 3-2 series lead still to Toronto. They'll be going back to Tampa on Saturday. And then the Devils shut out the Rangers, and the Devils lead that series 3-2. And the Rangers, man, just a disappointing kind of way to end. And I know they didn't start out the hottest, but you acquire Patrick Kane at the deadline, and you guys just can't put it together. The Devils are an up-and-coming hot team, but, man, it's just depressing to hear that Igor Shesterkin was supposed to be one of the best goalies in the NHL this year and has just absolutely collapsed underneath himself in this playoffs. But the Devils got a high-power scoring offense, so that is important to note there. And then the game's still going on as I'm recording. It's 11:22 at night. I don't know how this game's still going on, but that's what they do in Vegas. They just play hockey all night, don't they? The Golden Knights, looks like they're about to close out this series and gentlemen sweep the Winnipeg Jets. They are up 3-1 in the series, and they're up 4-0 in this game with 14:50 remaining in the third period. I assume Vegas is going to close that one out and advance in the series, barring any potential Winnipeg miracles coming on there. Moving on to Friday night, packed games, or a packed slate, honestly, for the NHL. Hurricanes and Islanders, Game 6. Hurricanes up 3-2 in that game. That's at 6 o'clock. Bruins and Panthers, as I previously mentioned, that's at 6:30. The Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild are playing their Game 6. The Stars are up 3-2. They are in Minnesota. Minnesota the favorite in that game. And then obviously, as I mentioned before as well, the Kraken and the Avalanche in Seattle for Game 6. Kraken trying to win their first playoff series in franchise history. That's a bar, low-key. On Saturday, potential games, or the Game 6 will be between the Devils and the Rangers in New York at MSG. So you get a little bit of hockey on Saturday night at MSG, and then the next morning, afternoon, you get some playoff basketball there as well. The Maple Leafs and Lightning will play their Game 6 in Tampa. No time listed for that yet. And then the Oilers and Kings will play their Game 6 as well, with the Oilers having a 3-2 series lead. That'll be on Saturday. And then the rest of the slate for Sunday is all if the other games do not end, which mean the Kraken series, Bruins series, Islanders, and Wild all go to Game 7s. They will play then. And then the rest will happen for those other games I mentioned before. They'll play their Game 7s, if any happen, on Monday. So that'll cover it up for the NHL. And that'll cover it up for this week. I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about. The MLB is kind of just doing its thing right now. The Pirates are just unstoppable, it seems like. They've won another series in a row. Nothing really big has happened there besides some call-ups, some home runs being hit. And in college, again, not really much going on. Haley Van Lith, I can't remember how you pronounce the last part of her name. She played at Louisville, had an outstanding NCAA tournament. She announced her commitment to transfer over to the defending national champions, LSU. I think that's a big news, honestly, because in women's college basketball, it's a very star power-driven league, as you see with Caitlin Clark leading her team single-handedly to the national championship. You get a girl like that on that team. That's a great addition and a good chance that they can go back to back. She's a great player and had a great press conference. And speaking of press conference, actually just reminded me of Giannis's press conference after Game 6 after they lost, or after Game 5 after they lost, when one of the reporters asked if this year's a disappointment. Giannis responded with, do you think Michael Jordan said all those seasons that he lost were failures? He won 6 rings in 15 seasons, so the rest of those years were just failures for the Bulls. Giannis is one of the most likable guys in the league. He's really shown his true colors of how smart he is and how composed he is at the podium. Any other player would have snapped at him or just walked out. But Giannis sits there, answers the question, and delivers a great answer, honestly, to that reporter. I'm sure you can find the video on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to find it. It's a great response. I recommend you look at it. It'll make you like the guy even more. If anything else happens, I'm going to be back here on Monday morning, Monday afternoon at whatever time to give you the rundown again. Like I said, we're going to switch to just Monday and Fridays from now on. Don't want to overload you guys during the week, kind of wear off whatever I'm giving you. But when we come back next week on Monday, NBA playoffs to talk about. Maybe I went to a Grizzly game. Maybe I didn't. We'll find out. NHL playoffs are in full swing. And we'll talk a little bit of baseball. Because I think I need to transition you guys going into the summer where it's going to be an overload of baseball on this show. Get you guys ready and prepared so you can pick your teams. If you don't got a team, go ahead and find some players you like. Go ahead and find a team you like. We'll talk about all that on Monday. But this has been Alex McNinch. I thank you again for joining me throughout this week. A lot of love and support. I appreciate it more than you guys could ever understand and know. But this has been your Sports Digest. We'll see you next Monday.